Oh, you see that number down there? That number's 21. Now, I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, there are days where, well, let me just get this. There are days where I get through the show without a freak out, and I think, easy peasy. I don't really give myself much credit for breaking yet another world record, going 21 shows now. Broke the world record of 4, and then I kept breaking it, and I've continued on this streak, 21 in a row. And yesterday was quite a challenge. Today I am much better health-wise. Thankfully, I do not have any kind of major stuff going on, so it should be a much easier day for me to get through. But my guard is up. My guard is up. Because how often do you go into a big game and against a rival team, and you fight a bitter fight and you win at the end, and then next week the 2-12 Dolphins come to town and you lose 31-3. So that's what I'm looking at. I don't want to fall into the trap of laying an egg with soft competition, because today actually relatively soft competition except for at the end. Once I get to that dialectical at the end, that's where things will be challenged, because I will be dealing with something that is very, very close to my heart, and that is education and the way that we do education in America. It's, to me, it's child abuse, and I do want to. I'll have to give I'll repeat it when I get to that section, but I do not believe that any teacher, any principal, any person that's part of that system should be treated like they're abusing children. I do not believe that if they understood the world as I do, that they would continue to do what they do. These people on the main, I love their kids, and they believe they're doing the right by these kids. I believe that. I believe most of them believe that. It's only a very select few that really know what's going on and why things are the way they are. But these teachers, they've been beaten and conditioned just like that. They're us. They're one of us. So when I get to that section, remember, teachers are us. We are them and they are us. They are the poors. We are the poors. We don't turn on teachers. We don't turn on principals. Only individuals that do specific things. But within these frameworks, these people are doing nothing wrong. So I'm going to probably have to repeat that when I get to Dialectical. That's going to be the part that's the most challenging. I want to express fully my rage in the system without converting that rage to people who might hear this that think that we could subhumanize other human beings like teachers, anybody involved in the education system. And we should not, and I would not want to do that. I'd be defeating the very purpose of the show, which is, well, the show has multiple purposes, but at the core, the show's core of cores is to advance the cause of consensuality in one way, shape, or form. And it is not advancing the cause of consensuality by putting classes of human beings into subhumanizing categories because they belong to certain modes of thought. In this case, well, I'll get to that. That's for the Dialectical. So, I think that's all I got to say as far as the pre-show is concerned. Keeping it light, keeping it free. Let's get ready for the show, and that means some of you know who you are. You know, no matter if you're left, right, if you're an anarchist, if you're a left anarchist, right anarchist, whoever and whatever you are, I can almost guarantee I'm going to say things that you're going to totally agree with. And you're like, finally, somebody said that. And then the next sentence, you'll be like, this guy's literally worse than insert most horrible name, whatever it is. The proverbial, the Hitlers, the Maos, the Stalins, the whatever evil thing you want to call me. Just remember, just remember this.
Warning, the material about to be exposed to is foreign. The minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific proofs, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone on FM. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. Whew, that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that I will be able to do it today, as long as I don't get that big letdown. You fought the big game. The big game yesterday. I had all the health issues against me yesterday. I had more than a few stories that were very triggering to me because I picked I would say, a more political heavy type of show than I normally do. I always have to have a certain level of the political in it because I don't want to be Struthian and bury my head in the sand like an ostrich or an ostrich, I guess, whatever it is. And I don't want to be that. So I put stuff in. I try to keep a watch as much as I think I have to, as far as, yesterday was challenging. Today, though, I got this. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I got this. And what do we have today? We have metal printing in 3D got easier and cheaper with LED. Amazon's top divides over Coronaville worker clampdown. FQTN feature, that's what that is. And then we got Fake Leaf unleashes unlimited power. Our news poem is going to be The Empathetic Funambulist. The Empathetic's assault gives 2 Americans to Maduro. And the Dialectical, that's the challenge for me. That's where that 21 might end at 21. Can I read your mind and make it? to sell toasters to you or authority. Wow, I just realized something. I am literally prepping you for the Dialectical for tomorrow that I wrote today already. I don't normally write the Dialectical before the show. The Dialectical for the next day before this, for the show the previous day, if you could follow that. But I actually did, and I have it in my head. Well, this one is, this Dialectical is less challenging for me. So, you know what? I increased my odds. But, you know, on the introduction, if you're listening to the live stream, the introduction to the show, and you've gotten to this part, yes, I have made an error. What I am preparing you for is a reason to tune in tomorrow, because that's the Dialectical is going to deal with the school system tomorrow, and that was that was challenging. But we don't have to deal with that today. But how did we get here, ladies and gentlemen, exactly? Well, it all starts at freako.com. That's right here, freako.com, where I go, and I am not freaking out about the news for you, the people. But it doesn't actually start there. It starts at newsalight.com, where I aggregate the glitz, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe news at a glance links, and I sent 10 of them over to freako.com for consideration for today's show. Then I go to Obamacare.tv, free market social engineering for the masses. And what do I do? Dude, I don't have my music on. Why don't I have my music on? That's not right. I send 10 of those on over to freako.com, and then finally Pioneering News, pioneeringnews.com, tech, science, underground news links, and I send not 10, 12 over to freako.com. And then when I send it to freako.com, I compile what I'm going to use to sing to you, basically. The song for the day through news. And today's song is titled Selling Tyranny as Enlightenment, the 21st Century Way. And this is for Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. Freako Talks the News. Whoo-wee! Let's get ready to record the first segment. And you know what that segment's going to be? It's going to be the headline segment. So let's get that queued up. Got our headlines intro here. Got the music started. I've decided what I'm generally going to do is start the music before I start recording, and then the recording starts some random part in the song. So it'll always be a little different. And I like that. I like that element. So let's get ready to record in 3, 2, 1. This is the talk headlines for Freako Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. My name is Freako with Freako.com. Today's top headline is Metal printing in 3D got easier and cheaper with LED. So this is an excerpt from slashgear.com. New metal 3D printer uses LED light source. Researchers at Graz University of Technology have created a new type of 3D printer that uses LED instead of laser sources for additive manufacturing of metal parts. The new 3D printer can optimize 3D metal printing for construction time, metal powder consumption, device costs, and post-processing work. The team behind the 3D printer has applied for a patent on the technology. So, if you want to go, you can go to the article and they'll give you a lot more specifics about exactly what it entails. And I don't really necessarily want to go over that, but yeah, and you can go back and read it yourself. But in essence, I'll just cut down to this part right here. Let's just do this part. All right. The lens system allows the beam. Don't worry about what the lens system is. Just trust me. Just trust me, okay? Trust me. I'm driving the bus. Everything's fine. The lens system allows the beam to be changed between these different millimeter sizes during the melting process. The changeable LED focus allows larger volumes to be melted per unit of time without having to do filigree internal structures. The lack of internal filigree structures reduces the production time of components and fuel cell or medical technology production by a factor of 20. Now, what I don't know is that factor of 20, that means it's 20 times slower or faster, or if the current time is 20 times slower, I don't know how that applies. I haven't been able to figure that out. You guys could probably figure it out, and you're like, dude, how do you not understand this? It happens. The process also means that in contrast to other metal melting systems, hold on. There we go. There's the word. There's the little thing. I just have a feeling that this could be a winner. Hold on. Let's see if we could put this up here, because I'm thinking that this is going to look good. This could be the necessary... Let's see. In the small letterings, let me think. In the small letterings, metal melting cyst. And I think it's cyst. Cyst with a... Yeah, with a dot. Yeah, you wouldn't want to spell that out. You don't do that. This is metal melting cyst. You don't need to do that. There we go. Let's set the background for you. We're gonna get a little background for this, because this deserves a little background each year. And we're not doing much. Like, if I was really doing this where I really wanted it to look decent, I would take a lot more time to figure out stuff. But that's not the purpose of this. It's just this. It's just look at the power of text. Oh, the factitious power of text on screen. And the more official, the more crafted I make this look, the more weight it would have. But metal melting cyst. I think that's what we got up there. And I think that is a winner. We're just going to leave that up there. I think that says it all. The process also means that in contrast to other metal melting systems, the component is assembled from top to bottom, leaving the component exposed and reducing powder required to a minimum. Now, I don't know what that means but it means significantly less. Necessary post-processing can be carried out during the printing process. Currently, the printer is being used to produce resorbable, so I'm assuming. Okay, so bioresorbable. Okay, bioresorbable. Ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a winning combination here. Oh, I was looking up these dogs' Cavamos. Let me go here. I don't want to go in there. All right, let's do this. What do we got? Bioresorbable. A bioresorbable stent, also called bioresorbable scaffold, biodegradable stent, or naturally dissolving stent, serves the same purpose, but is manufactured from a material that may dissolve or be absorbed in the body. So we're talking about materials that you can absorb. Okay, so the printer is being used to produce bioresorbable metal implants. Whoa, hold on. They're metal, but they can be resorbed. Resorb, by the way, resorb is now a word, and I'm loving it. I mean, it's always been a word, but it's just new to me, so it's new to the family. Welcome back. Welcome to the Freako fam of lexicology or whatever. Resorb, absorb something again. Resorb, physiology, remove cells or a tissue structure by gradual breakdown into component materials and dispersal in the circulation. Bone tissue will be resorbed. Wow. So there you go. That is fascinating, incredible. Let me get that little button that I press. This is only good if it is free tech. Ungridded tech. Ungrid the tech. If this tech is ungridded, if it's not exclusively locked up and placed in the hands of the few once again, then this is just another way that you're lowering the cost of independent production, and you're raising the cost of large-scale systems, preventing people from figuring that out. It's making it harder and harder for them to figure this, for them to prevent us. We could have in 2003, we had more than enough technological development at that point that we could have started a massive building project in this country, especially targeting our blighted areas. And we could have started we could have rebuilt this country in ways in ways in which the structures themselves would necessitate the creation of consensual exchange over cooperative and certainly over coercive exchange. And it would have, by now, it would have undone the powers. You would have not seen, there may be a couple of Leviathans still left at this point, but there wouldn't be many. The cost of large-scale systems has, maybe for 20 plus years, been more than the cost of small-scale systems could provide. The shift in the balance of power regarding the technological favoring of the large or the small scale, that tilt happened maybe 20 years ago. And most of what you have seen, most of the dramas that you see before you, these are vehicles of power that have been allowed to foment or been suppressed in varying degrees. These are the vehicles of power that these folks who derived their advantage from holding up resources in artificial ways, especially using IP and patents. You have IP and patenting that are shutting down farms from being able to grow certain plants because there are violations of somebody's patent. They're literally selling the creation of efficient seeds as property. Another harvesting of how many minds? How many minds that worked on that project will ever receive anywhere near the benefit that the 2 or 3 people that hold the vast, even if they don't hold the vast majority, they hold the by far and away the largest plurality of stakes that magically gets them this perpetual cut of the pie because their money is sitting there. There's not even real money at that, but that's another story. That's the system that prevents these technologies. These technologies could already be in your homes. You could already have an affordable metal 3D printer that you lose a screw, you just print one. And whatever, when you buy things, you automatically would scan it into your printer. So the printer, it would get a message. Maybe it would figure it out itself. You scan it, or maybe it's got a little thing that that thing has all the information, all the specs, everything. So anything that's wrong, you scan your thing and says, this is what's wrong. And it scans it and says, okay, I see the part broken and this is what you need. And then it prints it out and then you can replace it. Or maybe you just put this thing in a system that it gets ground down and most of you're going to lose some in the exchange, but most of it will survive. You'll be able to recycle it and literally just rebuild it. Just why worry about all the problem? Oh man, no. I'll just dash it and rebuild it, and it'll be as good as new. Literally, it will be new. It'll be new. It'll be like that. That could already be here, and when that is here, how do they keep us dependent on their? How does Amazon survive if we could do Amazon in our backyard and cost less and have more control over our lives, more sovereignty over our lives? I don't like the word sovereignty though, because sovereignty implies ownership, and I don't believe in ownership. I don't believe that we're capable of owning our own minds, let alone anything else. Now, I know that many of you have some varying degrees of commitment to the whole ownership being the foundation of truth and justice and glory, but that's okay if you do, but I personally do not. But I don't begrudge you having your standards of ownership either on the main. But I like the word stewardship much better, because that's about the closest that we can come. And this is what I'm mostly vouching for my human brothers and sisters and whatnots, is this idea that we should all It would be in all of our best interest. Those of us that are weak and broken and lost, those of us that have no hope of being superheroes anytime soon, have no hope of having the citadelian resources it would require for us to not suffer the consequences of our crappy actions. And we all understand, we who understand how crappy we all are. We're all wonderful and we're all crappy. It's all true. Those of us that understand that, we understand how significantly important it is that others around us think in consensual ways as well. That act consensually, because we're going to need their mercy and they're going to need ours. For those of us that understand this, these are the types of technologies that will create the opportunities for consensual exchange. When human beings don't have to go to Amazon or Walmart, and they can just go up. Maybe sometimes they go to their neighborhood micro factory, and maybe sometimes they just small enough, whatever, or they like it a certain way and only they know how to do. They do it themselves in their own homes. That's the world that can be here right now. That's a huge part of empowering human beings. Now, where you're going to have, there's all kinds of issues as well, as far as being able to use resources that are readily available in your region. So there's all kinds of stuff that's happening out there that I would suspect would be dramatically heightened, especially among the locals. The local tech wars that would occur, wonderful tech wars, not these types of tech wars where you have everything A company competing with everything B companies to eventually only have everything company. Let's get to this next headline, though. Did China cover to secure coronavirus supplies at world expense? Signs point to yes. U.S. Intel, this is an excerpt from Valley News Live. U.S. Intel thinks China stayed mum on virus early on to grab supplies. U.S. officials believe China covered up the extent of the coronavirus outbreak and how contagious the disease is to stock up on medical supplies needed to respond to it. Intelligence documents show Chinese leaders intentionally concealed the severity of the pandemic. I'm not going to read the rest of this. I have no idea what's fact or fiction when it comes to these nation states and the cloaks and daggers and whatnots. I could believe almost anything. Oh, let me remove there. I think we're done with you. I think metal melting system is done. Metal melting cyst, but it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Hope you guys got the visceral exchange that I got from that whole textual experience. Like kind of its own kind of little mini verbal visual poem thing going on there. I don't know anything about this. I thought this was worth noting, so I put it here. I put it in the headline for this reason. I ended up talking way too long about the 3D metal printer, so that means China. That means you get even less coverage here. But who knows? Who knows? I don't judge these nation states morally within their nation state parameters. I don't really believe that there's any nobility between the United States and the China that I would care to address as favoring one or the other. I favor the United States because my people that are surrounding me, that live near me, my geographical companions and all that, and they're my peoples. They're proximal peoples, but they're my peoples. So I favor the United States, but I favor the United States not winning in a way that harms Chinese people. I don't want to harm Chinese people just to make my life easier or better. So I don't know what to say about it, other than I would prefer the United States of America not be defeated by China in any capacity, because I think that would be very bad for everything, all of us, really, the whole freaking world. It would be highly disadvantageous for us to see that happen. So, and mostly that is, it's not because of the Chinese people. It is because, first and foremost, the one who we must hold accountable is Chairman Z. He's the one who's turned China into what you're seeing emerge right now. He's the one. But he's no threat to America if we don't have Americans from within that have consistently been willing to sell us out. Literally, figuratively, in very real blood and bone, Americans have died kind of ways. Without them, he has no power over the United States of America. And honestly, I don't want any power over him either, over them, or him or any of them either. I just want them not to influence our markets with their fascistic ideology. I don't want fascism in any form, and I don't want left fascism any more than I want right fascism. Yes, there is a left fascism. You want to see what left fascism looks like? I mean, if you want to use those words, I don't even like those left-right things. They mean nothing to me, but I know you guys all love it, so I can't escape it. But those left-right fascism things, nah, I'm not for any of them. And Chairman Z's level of fascism is even more heightened and exaggerated and terrifying, at least from a consensual perspective, than I reel against when I talk about the authoritarian SJWs in America. They're fascists too. They're quote unquote left fascists. They're remarkably similar to the worst of the of the right fascists, which are the not all traditional nationalist or right fascists, but there's a significant percentage of them that really are right fascists. And they're remarkably similar in so many ways, in their tactics, in their appeals to moralities, in so many ways. They're so similar. It's not the horseshoe thing, because they're not exactly there's significant enough differences from them, but in terms of how they control their people, and in terms of essentially how they control their people, how they manipulate their people to actions that they want them to take, is they both rely heavily on really hardcore angels and demons narratives that condemn whole swaths of people for historic sins, just in one faction or in one element. So let's just get to this last headline here. WHO pushes pro-China narrative on Wuhan accusation. Oh, I forgot I did this. I don't normally do this. 2 China stories in a row here. WHO says no proof from U.S. Oh, I know why I did this, because I wanted to show the contrast of all these things that I'm saying about. I can speak with some degree of certainty about who Chairman Z is and why I'm so fundamentally opposed to China continuing to increase its influence over any world market, let alone American markets. But I can't say as to what is fact or fiction regarding the coronavirus. And here I have the WHO totally contradicting the U.S. quote-unquote experts. Does that mean the WHO is right? Does that mean the U.S. experts are right? Is it because, I'm American, I do favor America, and I totally do favor America. I'm still not an idiot. And I know the nature of nation states, and I know our nation state is very capable of being every bit as duplicitous as China. The only thing that limits our American state as far as its level of fascism goes is essentially its fear that we will not accept the level of fascism that right now the Chinese people do. But we didn't go through Chairman Mao. We didn't go through something like that. So there, but by the grace of God, if you lived in China, you would be like most Chinese people too, as probably would I as well. I would probably, all things being equal, even in America, it was various circumstances that didn't end up with me comfortably settling into a faction. It was much more likely that I would have than not. It's just a weird circumstance that I didn't. So, and it's not because of my brains or any special anything. It's just the reality of power. It's how things emerge. And so most of you, if you lived in China, you would be a Chairman Z fan. You'd be very ticked off at you. Would be thinking I was literally the devil for calling him Chairman Z. And I would too, probably. I'd say 85% most likely I would probably be one of these folks too. That's why I don't judge him. I judge Chairman Z because he knows full well what he's doing. He knows. He's just the emperor of the universe, like any other. Politicians in America, when they look into the mirror, they say every senator looks in the mirror and sees the next president. No, they see the next emperor of the universe. They all want to be emperor of the universe. They wouldn't stop. There are very few, I guess you would say there are very few Hadrians in the world. Right after Trajan came Hadrian. Trajan extended the Roman Empire to its furthest reaches that it would ever have, including actually for a time taking over Mesopotamia. And Trajan came back and he pulled the boundaries back. Hadrian came back and he pulled the boundaries back and he literally built walls. He was like the Donald Trump of his time, wall builder. But he was actually not so much building walls to keep people out. He was trying to set the boundaries for the Romans to say, dude, we're not going past this. We can't go past this. This is impractical. He recognized the extent of what was. Very, very few people like that. Very, very few. They come along. And Donald Trump isn't one of those people, so I don't really mean to compare him to Hadrian. That was a bit of a joke. But maybe in part he is kind of like Hadrian. He does respect the boundaries of the American reality, probably more than most. Now, he does not respect the boundaries of anything else other than that, and that's his problem. But I think he does respect the boundaries of that. So I don't know what to say about this. What is what and who is what? You figure it out, and you won't be able to figure it out because there's no reliable source out there. Where's this source from again? This is France 24. France 24 is, honestly, as news outlets go, I kind of trust France 24. Generally, they're like most outlets. They have what you would call left-leaning lean, but they are not at all shrill. I don't see them using. Well, I mean, listen, if CNN was like France 24, I would be watching CNN today. Because I'd be like, well, I got a source that's actually going to at least communicate to me like I'm a freaking adult. So I'll say that. France 24 communicates with you like you're an adult. And that in and of itself, that's a big deal. Because there's not a lot of people doing that anymore these days. The old adulting thing has left the building. You have politicians, you have Chuck Schumer telling chief justices that if they rule a certain way, you better watch out because you're going to reap the whirlwind. That's how children talk. That's like children talking on playgrounds. And Donnie Boy, what he says to people every day. I mean, the press deserves every bit of what he gives them, but still, it's like you can't help but not notice that the President of the United States speaks like he has crayons in his mouth. And he writes like metaphorically, he writes. And he's not alone. Everyone's all that crayon language. That's why I call it just crayon language. We live in the crayon times. Coronaville is nested within the age of crayon. Coronaville is just maybe the most significant, we'll see, probably the most significant chapter of Crayonville. But Coronaville is a subset of Crayonville. And it may be what hopefully takes us out of Crayonville. We stop talking to each other like we're imbeciles and bloodthirsty murderers. That'd be great. Get Freako's Daily Freaks. Just enter your email and click subscribe. You get that on Freako.com, also Freako.com daily. This has been the 4 p.m. show on the Action Butsa YouTube channel. And coming up next, the 5 o'clock show is going to be the top feature, or the talk feature, I should say, not the top feature. There's no top feature. There's only one feature a day, so it's just the talk feature. That talk feature, the title of the talk feature is Amazon's Top Divides Over Coronaville Worker Clampdown. Now, that's coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless, of course, you're watching on the DLive.tv/Freako, Freeqo channel, in which case you don't have to wait. Oh, man, that was not good. I definitely went way longer than I wanted to go on that, so I'm not going to mess around here trying to get to this next section here. That first section, that first story really, man, it's going to be one of them days. Got to tighten up the ship, son. Tighten up the ship. We're going to do it, kids. We're going to do it. 3, 2, 1. This is the talk feature for Freako Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. My name is Freako with Freako.com. Our feature for today is Amazon's Top Divides Over Coronaville Worker Clampdown. It seems that even the top of Amazon can't stand what Amazon is allegedly doing to its workers. And this is allegedly, and I don't. Most of the sites that are covering this are very, quote, left-leaning, with a lot of history of hyperbolizing and contextualizing and misrepresentalizing. But still, I still tend to give this a lot of credence because of other stories that I've heard from actual Amazon workers that I know. I'm not going to share anything about that. But anyway, ignoring their concerns and forcing them to work in unsafe conditions, allegedly. And I would say a couple of folks that I know, the general review is a little bit mixed. So I would say one person seems to think that, well, they've got their own issues and complaints, and another person kind of says, these people are just complainers and everything's fine. So it could be in certain parts even if it's not, I don't know. So that's all I know. I don't know anything more than that. The nature of our universe is such that any group that has any legitimate basis for complaint against any other group must be treated with a degree of skepticism, as their concerns, legitimate or not, will quickly be co-opted and twisted to become vehicles of power for people who have no real desire to fix whatever issue you wanted fixed in the first place. I write this because I don't wish to appear to take the words of these particular workers, as gospel that reflects true reality any more than I would Amazon leadership's official narrative claiming there's nothing to see here and Amazon is doing A-OK by its workers. It means something significant, however, in calculating the real and imagined in any fractional war of polemics when one person who has a decided vehicle of power interest in the Amazon leadership narrative chooses to jump ship and throw in with the workers, which is what happened here. And I'll let you decide in the end, based on your own research, the degree to which the workers are tools of authoritarian leftist factions, which is true to a certain degree, especially whenever you're talking about opportunities for leftist serving unions as opposed to actual people serving. And when I say leftist, let me put that in quotes, because there are plenty of people who are leftist who are totally cool. I'm totally cool with. I mean authoritarian leftists. Authoritarian, if there is such a thing. Authoritarian leftist factions, really, that they'll come in with their particular union guys instead of you forming unions that are actually, there's an emergent leadership, there's a co-equal emergent leadership, there is consensual process where the union makes decisions as a union, and what you end up with is a corporatized union in a corporatized union system that is every bit as corrupt and citadelian serving as corporate leadership is. It's just that they serve different citadelians. It's just the way that the citadelians from that particular collection of power get their pound of flesh from other citadelians, kind of like a tribute, really, if anything else. So that's mostly what will happen. If Amazon ever does get its union, it will most likely be one of these corporatized unions, not an actual union, not a union of top-down emergent leadership with consensual process in which union folks make decisions together, and they don't become hyper-politicized so that everybody in the union now has to be pro-abortion or pro-life or Democrat or Republican. Like, that doesn't happen either in a consensual emergent leadership union. That only happens in corporatized unions. Alrighty then. Well, let's get to the actual excerpt. This is from Oh No They Didn't. Amazon VP resigns, calls company chicken shit for disparaging protesting workers. Tim Bray, a well-known senior engineer and vice president at Amazon, has quit in dismay because Amazon has been firing whistleblowers who were making noises about warehouse employees frightened of coronavirus. In an open letter on his website, Bray, who has worked at the company for nearly 6 years, called the company chicken shit for firing and disparaging, and boy, they just have to get that in again. And I had to repeat it again. Of course I did. And disparaging employees who have organized protest. He also said the firings are designed to create a climate of fear. In a statement to Motherboard, Amazon has said its own protesting workers are spreading misinformation and making false claims about Amazon. Ooh, that's just hardcore, man. And that it objects to the irresponsible actions of labor groups. And there's probably some truth to it. But again, just like these guys, these factional authoritarian nut jobs that Amazon probably is being targeted by, they're looking for the shakedown money in one way, shape, or form. They're looking for that easy grift, man. Easy grift. Hit a large corporation up with a social cause and pocket the money, and no real change is going to happen as far as social cause is concerned. You're just paying these corporate social activists, the corporate social activists set. That's what you end up doing. And again, the people, the actual Amazon employees with the actual issues. It's not those people. It's not the workers, the general workers. They're not an activist. They're not all fired on political and factional and authoritarian and absolutarian. They're just dudes, dudettes, and theys that are just working. And they don't get to speak. Their issues are not fundamentally going to be met. They're just going to be tools. Just going to be tools in a game in which none of us ever really wins. It's like a lottery. 2 or 3 out maybe of us, we win by turning tattletale on our own kind, our pores. We the pores, we turn on ourselves every day. It's like the people that actually called the Canadian police to report a gun because they saw a girl in a stormtrooper outfit with a stormtrooper blaster. And the police showed up and drew guns on this girl and took her down, busted her nose. This is the insanity that we live in. This is the insanity that is being supported by us, we the poors, because we're falling for these evil narratives, these angels and demons narratives. And it's so interesting how more often than not, these angels and demons narratives, even the ones that maybe on the left you say the billionaires are evil. I don't believe that people are evil so much as they are imbalanced in their power, and that's a concern in of itself. But the people on the left, that you imagine that these evil billionaires, you're fighting these evil billionaires, yet you focus the vast majority of your time destroying the lives of average human beings, non-billionaires. You keep taking out the little pawns, and you think that you're doing anything? You puny little pieces of filth, you fucking garbage heads. Well, there you go. There you go. I've lost my day. I've lost it. I kind of knew this would happen. This is what ticks me off. And I see the quote unquote right there the same fucking way. Same fucking way. You see an issue in which the poors are being disadvantaged, being taken advantage of, being forced into cooperative states. Cooperation, the way that I define cooperation is just polite coercion. It's when you have little choice. You don't have no choice, but you have little choice. And being able to live is pretty fundamental. And if you're going to cut people off from being able to live because they don't have the options to go out and work for the kind of people that might treat them more like actual consensual type human beings instead of chattel, instead of commerce, instead of a commodity. That's the key. Instead of commodity. That's never going to happen, because who jumps into the lurch whenever there is a cause? It's these hateful motherfuckers. These fucking assholes. These fucking grifters. They're on the left. They're on the right. Wherever there is any movement, the fucking grifters come. The ones that are willing to shout the nastiest fucking things. The ones that are willing to enforce the shittiest of fucking rules against their own members and against anyone outside their fucking factions. These motherfuckers. These Amazon employees will not be helped by any leftist fucking corpo state fucking union. It will only help the fucking DNC. They need a union, but they need a consensual exchange union. They need a union of fucking co-equals. Not what the greedy little authoritarian leftist fucking grifters will do. And that's what Amazon's dealing with. But Amazon is not the good guy here either. I ask you, could I? I've run a business. I've had, I mean, I've never had a huge business, but I've had businesses where I've run it I've had up to 20 employees working with me, for me, and I never called them employees. I always hated that word. I was always trying to get people to take more. I said ownership, then I would use stewardship. No, but very few people that worked for me really took that ownership or stewardship position, because we're also trained not to be that way. We're trained in the employer type relationship. That's how we think. And I tell you that if I was running a business during coronavirus, I don't care what it would do to me. I would not put my employee in a position where they have to choose whether they were going to risk their life going to work or not. I would just lay them off. I would say, if you need me to lay, because I know you're going to get unemployment, I will just lay you off. Amazon didn't do that. Amazon did something I would never do. No consensual person would do. You wouldn't do it to your brother, so you shouldn't do it to your employees. But you do it to your employees because your employees aren't family. The capital is your family. The capital. The hedge fund managers that are on those earnings calls. Those are your family. Fuck the workers. And the people that are coming in and saying they're heroes of the workers, fuck you too, because you're not there for the fucking workers. You are there for your greedy motherfucking selves. To keep running the rackets that you're running, making your millions and millions of dollars, sucking the life out of movements, turning them into shit. You turned SJWism into fucking Nazism, pretty much. That's what you managed to do, you twisted pieces of human fucking filth. All right. Well, there you have it. This has been a freak out. You got to witness a freak out. I'm proud of myself that I went 21 shows. We'll see if we can break that record next time. I didn't expect that this would be the story to trigger this. I wasn't so triggered by this story even when I wrote it. But it is a constant theme throughout history too. How often legitimate issues get turned into hateful, tyranny-enabling vehicles of power for psychopaths. That's the problem with the nation-state model. It just continues to reward psychopaths. And it doesn't matter if you're a capitalist or a communist. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a state, you're always going to be rewarding psychopaths. It's just the way it is. And y'all want it that way. You like this. You shouldn't say anything about this. You should say, well, that's just the way it is. People get ground down to dust. If people weren't ground down to dust, how would we have the billionaires? And if we didn't have with billionaires, how would we have the innovation that would make it so much better for the people's lives that are getting ground down to dust prematurely because they have to work these horribly shitty, physically grinding jobs? Now that we know what we know about the damage that putting human beings in positions where they have to desperately wonder if they're going to be able to pay for food next week. Like, we don't want that. We don't want to continue to turn people's bellies into acid pits that end up felling them when they're 57 instead of 94. Even if they live to be 94, they lose their real functionality maybe when they're 70, where they would have held on to it maybe until they were 90, robbing them 20 good functioning years. This is happening all the time throughout human history. And this is what you want. This is what you love. You cannot help Amazon employees if you send any large-scale pieces of shit in there to rescue them. Don't listen. Amazon employees, form your own fucking unions and don't let any activist be part of your leadership. No fucking activists. Not right-wing, not left-wing, not any wing activists. Leave the political fuckheads out of your organization, and you will actually meet the needs of the workers, and Amazon will treat you like a fucking adult that they have to deal with, an adult with real power that comes to the table and says, listen, motherfuckers. And they're going to say, hey, we get it. All right. Trust me. Don't come to them with these political fucking activists. Keep them out of your fucking organization. All of them. Every motherfucking one of them. Well, this has been your feature for today. This is your 5 o'clock show on ActionBots YouTube channel. Coming up next on the ActionBots YouTube channel at 6 p.m. is, well, it's the briefs. Or the Talk Focus, I'm sorry. The Talk Focus. And the Talk Focus, the title of the Talk Focus is Fake Leaf Unleashes Unlimited Power. That's at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you're watching the ActionBots YouTube channel, which we run live, this show, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, you don't have to wait. Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I have some changes to make in the show. So I gotta hold here. Let me get this. There we go. Gotta make a change here. Gotta make a change. I'm so sad. I was really worried. I thought this would happen because I was so on my... Oh, I just knew it was gonna happen. So I gotta put this. This hurts me, but it has to be done. There it is. 0. Ladies and gentlemen, 0 shows since last freak out. There you go. There you go. So that is what it is. That is what it is. I did not think that would get me. That story would get me. That has been something that I have been thinking about for a long time, and I've never really had a good opportunity in a show to say it. And I've reacted viscerally when I've seen examples of this. A lot of it, actually, more so, I've been looking at the right a lot more lately as far as the number of hucksters and jivers and violent con artists that co-opted legitimate concerns of human beings that have somehow been convinced that the only way that they're going to get their grievances met is if they give these violent people power to do violent things against their neighbors. And it's just as true of all the leaders, almost all the leaders on the left. Almost all the leaders on the right, almost all the leaders on the left. They're all whipping their groups up to war. It's a war that no one would win. And you don't understand that, well, we need each other. We actually need the leftists, and we need the rightists. We don't need people to have the concentrations of power that they have, and there's a way to end it. And the way to end it is to put a 3D printer in every home, to get rid of all the regulations that prevent human beings from being able to exchange value between themselves anonymously outside the purview of the state. If you want to get your cut of the pie, offer them services that they can only get by buying through your stuff. Otherwise, you lose. Just do those things. Just those things in and of themselves, and you're going to start the ball rolling. But I tell you, the people that start to thrive, you have to immediately take whatever you're making that's beyond what you need. And I won't say, like, I'm not appealing to your morality. I'm appealing to your sense of personal fulfillment. And that is, it is in your best interest to take whatever you got and to invest in with no expectation. You're not going to be investing so you can continue to get your cut of other people's stuff. So you're just going to invest in human beings that are creating and leading and doing things in areas of blight that can help transform those areas of blight, destroy them, and get the folks that were in those areas into other areas that's not blighted, or rebuild that whole area. If you're going to stay there, people are going to live there, rebuild it in a new way. Ways in which enable individuals to have their own castles, but also their own consensual interdependencies on their neighbors that give them opportunities to experience for themselves basically a millionaire's lifestyle. You can have a million. We can all be citadelians. We can all be citadelians. We can have 300 and some odd million citadelians. Once you have 300 and some odd million citadelians, then that's the end. That is the end of, well, they can still be citadelians. It's just that now they're 1 in 300 million instead of 1 in 3. They're citadelians. I don't know how many citadelians are in America. It would be less than 50. Less than 50 probably. Human beings. Real human beings. Less than 50 probably. All right, let's record the focus. This is the Talk Focus for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. Our top focus is Fake Leaf Unleashes Unlimited Power. Might we see the creation of a perpetual motion machine through leaf technology? That's the OTT claim in a headline about a new technological breakthrough that copies natural leaf tech to create an alleged unlimited source of power. So you know it's not hyperbolic. It all comes from mimicking how leaves convert water and sunlight into energy, but this time the energy comes in the form of electricity. This tech, I don't know why I said it like that. You should be fired. But if I'm fired, then the show stops. Okay, we'll let you continue for now, but we will replace you. This technique might not actually lead to the OTT claim of perpetual energy, but the technique could plummet the cost of solar power production while spiking its overall efficiency, bringing the potential for cheap, ubiquitous energy for all, especially we the poor, closer to reality. And if you have that, it's just another front where you're favoring small scale empowerment with ease. I just wish that there was some way that I could just magically transform all of this into everybody's mind, and you suddenly were aware that you actually do have this power, but you need the help of your neighbors. You can't do it alone. You fundamentally, like the individual and the collective, are one. The individual can't be subservient to the collective, but the individual has to understand that without the collective, the individual can't sustain their individuality. Because an entity that is able to concentrate power will assure that they gobble you up, like it's mostly happened in America. But even in America, though, far less gobbling of the sense of individuality in America than it is in most other parts of the world, and that's great. Except it's also horrifying because the individual is reduced so much more significantly in America than it was just 20 years ago. Going through a de-individualizing time. Well, in some ways. In other ways, we're hyper-individual. But, well, never mind. You know what? Stop it. I do this, and I will not do it anymore until I do it again, which might be the next story. Start to go down a line that I know if I go down, it'll be another 15, 20 minutes that I don't have. Cut yourself off, son. Just walk away. Get back to the story. Here's an excerpt from SciTechDaily.com. Water splitting artificial leaf module, a source of perpetual energy. Come on. Rice University researchers have created an efficient, low-cost device that splits water to produce hydrogen fuel. The platform, developed by the Brown School of Engineering lab of Rice materials scientist Juan Lu. Now that, it's Jun Lu. Okay, that's all kinds of awesome in that. This could be, hold on. I think we got to do this one. Where is the text? Come on. You tell me I don't have a focus text. That's it. I gotta add a focus text, ladies and gentlemen. Has to happen. This is a necessary impediment to our lives, okay? This is a necessary impediment to our lives. All right. This is the focus text. All right. Focus text thingy. Focus text thingy. Come on. Get it right. All right. Focus text thingy. And we're going to have you. And we're going to make you... we'll just make you black. That's all. There we go. Easier to see right now. Terry, how about put you right here? Might have to switch this on. All right. I realize I haven't switched over, have I? Let me switch over. All right. And I'll add you on here. Jungwoo, we're going to add you on here. Don't worry. Ain't even a thing, because we got this. There we go. Yes. Get that big screen, baby. That is a cool looking name, isn't it? I mean, Lu. Last name is Lu. Jun Lu. That's wonderful. That's a cool looking name. All kinds of multi-language type possibilities in that name. I love it. All righty. The concept is broadly similar to an artificial leaf, Lu said. What we have, I love that, Lu. Oh, good old Lu. What we have is an integrated module that turns sunlight into electricity that drives an electrochemical reaction. It utilizes water and sunlight to get chemical fuels. Jia has replaced the more expensive components like platinum in perovskite solar cells with alternates like carbon. And that lowers the entry barrier for commercial adoption. It's also local, small-scale adoption. Integrated devices like this are promising because they create a system that is sustainable. This does not require any external power to keep the module running. Lang said the key components may not be the perovskite, but the polymer that encapsulates it, protecting the module and allowing it to be immersed for long periods. Others have developed a catalytic system that connects the solar cells outside the water to immersed electrodes with a wire. We simplify the system by encapsulating the perovskite layer with a Surlyn polymer film. The pattern film allows sunlight to reach the solar cell while protecting it and serves as an insulator between the cells and the electrodes. With a clever system design, you can potentially make a self-sustaining loop. Even when there's no sunlight, you can use stored energy in the form of chemical fuel. You can put the hydrogen and oxygen products in separate tanks and incorporate another module like a fuel cell to turn these fuels back into electricity. And that was a little bit too much for me to quite understand exactly what Junlu meant. Well, it's just a little bit beyond my... I don't know. I won't say it's beyond my pay grade because I get more money than Lou does. I'm just kidding. I get no money. I make no money off this. But just pretend. I make way more money than Lou does, so I can't complain. But be that as it may, it's not above my pay grade. It's probably below my pay grade. But that sounded condescending. You don't want to be condescending. That's not what you want. Especially Jun Lu, because Jun Lu is offering us the world. This is pretty incredible stuff. This is, I don't know about that whole perpetual thing, because you have to keep Well, I guess what he's saying is, I don't know. I'm sure that the stuff wears down and you're going to have to replace stuff. So the stuff degrades. The materials that you're using, all that, so it's not necessarily perpetual motion. But could it be a system, though, that could sustain itself for a significant period of time? And again, the old, make sure that it's not patented and IP'd and locked down and turned into some citadelian's war chest that uses, they use as a bludgeon against our neighbors and ourselves. Obligatory addition to that story. All right, well, we're gonna take June off now because we're moving on to the next story. Sorry, June, I appreciate your presence there, but you're gone. Not permanently, just for right now. Transforming crystals to save human life. Trying to grow crystals to the shapes we want them has been one of the techniques doctors have used to try to create medicines that could effectively combat infections from viruses and bacteria. The problem with this technique is the amount of work, the cost of manipulating crystals to grow the way you want them to grow. Now, researchers at Drexel College have figured out a way to create crystals of your desired shape using chemical reactions rather than the old, expensive, and laborious methods of physical manipulation as the crystals grow. The new technique offers greater opportunity for shape manipulation at significantly reduced cost of time. Look at that, reduced cost of time. Here's an excerpt from Eureka Alert. Pressing pause on nature's crystal symmetry. The new developments recently reported in the scientific journal Nature Communication was led by Christopher Lee, Ph.D., a professor in Drexel's College of Engineering whose research has centered around engineering polymer structures for special applications in collaboration with Bin Zhao, Ph.D., a professor in the chemistry department. Oh my gosh, they're always professors, long names and department names and stuff. Their work shows how these structures, like polymer crystal spheres, can be formed simply by mixing chemicals in a solution rather than physically manipulating their growth. Yeah, I hope you're reading that, taking that in. Their work shows how these structures, like polymer crystal spheres, can be formed by mixing chemicals in a solution. So, in other words, once again, this is an emergent system. This is where you set the parameters of the exchange, knowing full well that the exchange will form what you want it to form. Now, I don't believe that you can do that finitely when it comes to human interaction, human action, but that's essentially one of the principles behind, well, one of the, it's one of the key ways in which you would see consensual exchange be the dominant form of your methodology of governing human action, if you will, because if it's emergent, from the bottom up emergent, then it will produce more distributed structures that will allow individuals to say no more easily to one another, and incentivize individuals to actually deliver on their promises and actually to try to deliver beyond their promises, because it's that essential that they get that type of exchange from the person that they're dealing with, who has the power to say no to them. No, conversely, they also have the power to say no to them, so it's working in their way as well. It's incentivizing the other as well. Most crystals grow in a regular pattern. If you think about snowflakes, there's a translational symmetry that guides us, the unit cell repeating through the crystalline flake. What we've discovered is a way to chemically manipulate the macromolecular structures. So, wow, that's cool. Macromolecular structures, so that this translational symmetry is broken when the molecules crystallizes, Lee said. This means we control the overall shape of the crystals as it forms, which is a very exciting development both for its scientific significance and the implications it could have for mass production of targeted therapies. Did you notice how many names that are showing up in American universities? These are folks, Christopher Lee, I'm judging, I could be wrong, but more likely than not, Lee is some It's not a European name. There are so many names that are from so many parts of the world other than Europe. And it used to be predominantly European names, but not anymore. Like, that's America now. That is the reality. And one of the reasons why racism has actual supremacist racism really have any real opportunity to manifest itself in America in any kind of significant way is almost nil, because we human beings see every day all of these human beings that look in so many different ways with so many different names, shapes, colors, sizes, all kinds of things. We're seeing human beings all around us that are doing awesome things, awesome American things. So it's hard for even our minds to continue to lie to us if we want to be racist. Even our minds are like, yo, brah, come on. It's like, come on. So it's just harder and harder to convince people to hate people based on race when you live in America. It really is. At least I kind of think that, because I think about if this was all people of color, if it was a POC universe, you lose all these white people. You are gonna be lost without all these white people. You need them. Essential to what America is. All these white people. And then the other way around. And I won't even say exclude all the POC people. Exclude any one group in America or any one of the major groups. I don't know. Africans. I'm not talking about our African Americans that have been generations here. I'm talking about Africans that have come over just in the last 30 years up to now. Africans. What are we without our Africans? Africans, man. We need them. They're vital. They're the secret to America's power going forward is the fact that we are the world. And most Americans know this, even if they haven't actualized it yet. But I believe there's no way for at the heuristic institutional level, most of us Americans would fundamentally understand that America is America's the world. We're so far beyond whatever notions people thought of America as. We understand we are literally the world. That's what makes us the greatest country in the world, because we literally are the world. And without the world, we are not America. That's the thing. Without our Africans, without our Chinese, without our British, without our Irish, without our Venezuelans, without our Aztecs, our Incans, we got them all here. We're all here, man. We're all here. And this is where we prove to the world that race, that ethnicity, that it need not be a division that prevents us from making bread together and building a national identity as a people, an American people. And with that, I come to the end of this focus, which is our 6 p.m. show on Action Batza. That means we've reached the halfway point of the show at 7 p.m. for the folks here on the Action Batza YouTube channel, if you watch the 6 o'clock show. We're going to get the news poem coming up, and the title of the news poem is The Empathetic Funambulist. But if you're watching on the DLive.tv/Preco show, which airs every 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, well, you don't have to wait till 7 p.m. You only have to wait a few minutes as I get ready to take a break. Alrighty. I still don't fully have that worked out. Someday I'll get it. Someday something will spill out of my mouth and I'll be like, that's it. That's the thing. But I don't want to sit down and think about it because I want it to be like that. It's in a lot of ways. That's kind of how I'm trying to let this I'm trying to let this show become what it will become emergently. See? You see what I'm doing there? See what I'm doing there? All right. Well, listen. It's time for me to take a break. And I'm going to go take a break right now. And I'll do the inning outy with the whole water resource thing. And then I will return to do the second half of the show. I've lost my thing. I'm down to 0 shows without freaking out, but at least it's still not as bad as the one before that. The one that well, it turns out it began the streak that got me to 21 shows, and that one, the whole show was one big freak out. So I think I'm contained, and I think I'm safe for the rest of the show. I think I've got it. Got it out of my system. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Well, we'll see in a few.
Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me.
I hope that love has not overwhelmed you. And if it has, I hope it was a good overwhelming. In which case, I hope that love has overwhelmed you. Because that's how I roll. I'm for you, the people. I'm for you winning. That's what I do. Yeah, nothing short of that. I'm noble. I'm decent. I'm a decent person. That's what I am. All right. Well, it's 1:56 p.m. as I record this, and that means, wow, I gotta get this puppy. I gotta light the fires and whatever to kick the tires and light the fires. I really hate that expression. I don't know why I keep drudging it up in my head lately, but I do. Well, with that, and given the fact that during the feature part of this show, I did lose my record. I made it 21 shows in a row without a freak out. Today was not to be, so I am at 0 freakouts. I do not condone the freakouts. That's why I work not to have them. But they're going to happen, and I keep them there so I can show everyone that I am, as I say, I literally say that I am a broken piece of crap. And so are you. That's the thing. You don't want to face it. You just don't want to face the fact that you're a broken piece of crap. And if and when you ever do, then you'll get this show a lot more, and you'll understand why it's so urgent that we build the things that I'm telling you that we need to build. And I don't have any specific plans. See, I don't have any specifics because I'm not a megalomaniacal psychopath. I just have general things to offer that you will create your diverse methodologies of creating. Did I say create enough? I want to work that in and make sure I say that. For the rest of you that aren't down with the groove and maybe get upset because I've attacked your perambulators, or I've genuinely been and you know, I said I'm a piece of crap, so I've actually been a piece of crap during the show. Then this is for you. Remember, all is love, baby. All is love.
Warning, the material about to be exposed to is part of the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone in FM. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out. That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That was the plan in the first half of the show. I failed. But now it's the second half of the show, so I can begin a new streak, although this won't count for anything but just a tiny little moral victory. Let's see if I can go a whole half of a show without freaking out. Think I can do it? Because if I don't, I won't have to change anything. I just keep it at 0. It's like I got like a pass right now. But you know what? I'm not going to indulge. You know why? Because I'm a decent person. I'm going to get right to the news poem. That's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep it civil. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it in love, baby, in love. Okay. Let's get ready to record. In 3, 2, 1. This is the news poem for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. My name is Frico with Frico.com. Today's news poem is titled The Empathetic Funambulist. And don't forget to go to Frico.com to check out the latest news poem excerpt that we post on the YouTube channel, Action Batza. That says 101. We actually have 104 subs right now. I'll have you know. The Empathetic Funambulist. Scientists are looking for a reason why humans are sometimes inclined to be more or less self-sacrificing as a result of having more or less altruism and or empathy. They've come up with some possible chemical potentials and evolutionary understandings of the usefulness or unusefulness of this or that measure of empathies or altruisms, but in the end, they have come to understand the usefulness of the dialectical conflicts of more or less empathies or altruisms. You'll see what I mean, hopefully. That was not a dramatic pause. That was a clearing the throat pause. And you didn't want to hear that because I do record this show live on dlive.tv/Freako. So this is a live show that you're watching a segment of on the Action Bots YouTube channel if you're watching it there now. All right, here's the news part of News First Poem Follows. This is an excerpt from Popular Science. Why we evolved to feel empathy during pandemics and other disasters. Empathy and altruism are primordial human traits. When we wandered as foragers for 200,000 years, resources were iffy, so we smoothed out potentially fatal fluctuations by elaborating our instinct to share. Right from the start, there's a lot of collective design intention there that wasn't there. This was an aggregate of individual actions. Aggregates of individual self-serving actions that, well, the aggregate expressions produced this recognized trait. It wasn't a conscious, everybody got together and said, hey, resources are short, so now it very well may have emerged individually from that reality, the individual themselves experiencing, just like I said, when you have less resources, then you recognize if you don't have the capacity to know that you can have all the resources you need and you're safe and fine and you can do it yourself, then you have a tendency to be like, hey guys, I like you, I'm gonna take care of you. Just no big secret there, folks. It is to the rest of the world, it seems, so far. But we didn't invent these circuits. A free rat encountering a trapped rat will make an effort to release it. And a rat pulling a lever to obtain food pellets will choose the lever that doesn't shock a stranger rat, even when that lever delivers 2 times less food. Thus, neural circuits for empathy and altruism have likely been around since our last shared ancestor with rodents, nearly 100 million years. So you're trying to... It's almost as if they... So there are neural circuits that they're... I can't even process this. Because this seems they're literally talking about these neural circuits as if they're the ones that create the empathy and altruism. There's some sort of evolutionary development. What if the neural circuits are the creation of... It's always that question, who's zooming who? So to what degree is that the creation of a mouse born with a neural circuit that gives it this capacity to empathize? Merely having the capacity, why does the mouse then engage in that capacity, so to speak? It just seems like whenever I see science dealing with human action, it always sounds so cartoony, simplistic to me. It's like, what are scientists doing that they can't understand what basic human action around them can tell them about human nature that would lead them in any way down this type of thinking, that it's somehow it's these neural circuits for empathy and altruism that creates empathy and altruism. It's like you have to have a biological circumstance in which individuals who have a mutation that gives them this capacity for empathy and altruism advantages in the realm in some capacity. and you have to assume that the neural circuits are the mutation, and that the neural circuits themselves are not simply the creation of the intention of the actor, in this case the rat. The rats have this because the rats have a natural born instinct due to their they must have some degree of sense of at the very least non-superhero-ness. They have a sense of fragility, they must. And that is fundamentally what creates empathy and altruism. Which is, well, I have a whole other story about that. I don't want to get down that path. It's already 7 minutes in, and I don't want to make this a long one. Okay, this was I would have probably spent a lot more time in this section of the thing if it wasn't for how much time I've already taken in the show. So empathy has a substantial genetic contribution, and this is another thing. Whatever they, this is, and even they will give a little. Well, here I'll read her. Empathy has a substantial genetic contribution, about half as much as height. A group of researchers found in 2018. Inevitably, some individuals inherit more pro-empathy genes than average, and I don't know the degree to which we fully understand. We're just now beginning to understand that your DNA changes as you grow. That as circumstances, you could literally, the type of DNA that you have for men, not women. The women are kind of frozen in time, at least as far as I think we understand. Their genetic passing on is frozen from the moment they're born. That's weird. Unless we don't understand that maybe it is possible that somehow the DNA within those eggs can somehow be changed after they've been created. I have no idea. I don't think so, though. But in the case of men, we continue producing spermy, wormy, and they're getting messages that change over time. So the DNA that I create in the 25-year-old version of Frico is going to be different than the 50-year-old Frico. Like that what we're recognizing is there's a lot more fluidity in the opportunity for an organism to create mutation than we had previously imagined. That's not even addressed. That's not even thought about, even though I learned it from these guys, but they don't make those connections. They don't talk about it. And I've done a couple stories about some things along that line. And I've given my own theory about the nature of when you see more what you would call mutation deviation. I use the word deviation. That when they have circumstances where a variety of deviations can thrive, nonetheless, that you'll just have more deviations. So it'll be a more varied organism, a lot more flexibility, but it can only exist if it can sustain the deviations. If the deviations themselves don't fundamentally disable existential perpetuation in some way, shape, or form. So then this last part, though, I thought was very, very, I really like this little part, and this is kind of how, this is very dialectical. This could have easily been the dialectical for today. And maybe in hindsight it should have been. But why, since we evolved brain circuits for empathy, should any of us be deficient for this trait? Why can't we all be above average? Apparently, because our species' success gains from individuals on both sides of the bell curve. It's not both sides. There's that everybody wants to bifurcate, because bifurcation is so much easier for the universe, for the tacticians and the measurers to divide the universe into yes and no and black and white and on and off and all the other. Yeah, there's no dialectical exchange that happens in that universe, and the thing is that we aren't just more or less empathetic or not. We are within us. We have these battles of more or less empathy in various circumstances, times, and perspectives, and within one individual, let alone within a species. So it's a lot more mesh in reality than this bipolar universe that they were like you to think of it. But they're at least coming to a dialectical understanding here that the nature of existence itself seems to fundamentally thrive on friction. And friction comes from the dialectical exchange, from the yes and the no existing in the same place. Anyway, here's the poem. The Empathetic Funambulist. Empathy. The genetic tremor. The pause. The awe and wonder as life sacrifices itself for life. Empathy. Entering into the fray. Imagined. Become. Parted with self to satisfy other. The altruist lining itself. A tightrope of right. Right, I said, good and decent. The umbrella spins above its head. The crowd below spits on its spittoons, aghast as the great height of the lone slicing line from whence. The tiny itself dangled in right, moving forward on a turn of pencil-thin tire attached to an oversized bicycle you pedaled across the line with. The empathetic divide. The dancing on the seat as you juggle flame of bowling pins. Unbothered, balanced, empathetic. Empathy. The after-party centers around your sacrifice at the height of the show. The model departs the seat, akimboed in pre-planned terror, accepting the fall, the tumult of the blades below where the body lands. Gone. But not forgotten. Life sacrifices itself for life, for the smiles, for the joys, for the alls of the spittoon-spitting crowd below, temporarily enthralled with your dizzying display that defied logic and reason itself. I want to say this is the end, but I lie. We'll do this again. Ghost will scratch dirt and find bone with a bit of struggle, reflecting aid, reflecting sacrifice, reflecting empathy, that tenuous hold on the slip of the tightrope's foundation, and we'll marvel again at the nobility of savages, and we'll reinvent the forms that our empathetic performers get to take for the sake of the show. The show, my friends, must go on. Do you feel me? If so, climb upon this ladder. There. The stage is worth the end alone. And that's the news poem, which is also the 8 to 7 p.m. show on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. Action Batsa means action-based, which is, well, you flip around, a real base of action is the underlying philosophy through which I kind of analyze the news through. So it's pretty fundamental to what the Freako Talks, the news show, is. So that's why we put the excerpts on that channel. And if you're watching live on the dlive.tv/Freako show, well, this is not the 8 p.m. show, obviously. Coming up next is the Talk Briefs, and our top brief for the day is going to be. Hold on, let me transition this over. Yeah, it's going to be the Bay of Pathetic's assaults, gifts, or let me read that again. I got to get this right. The Bay of Pathetic's assault, gifts to Americans, to Maduro. There he is. Yeah, I got a gift. This is the luckiest man alive. This doofus is the luckiest man alive. But listen, if you're watching on the Action Batsa YouTube channel, you are going to have to wait. Well, you're going to have to wait till 8 p.m. for the Talk Brief show. And if you're watching on the dlive.tv/Freako show, which airs every 12:30 p.m. Monday through Friday Eastern Standard Time, you don't have to wait. Oh, all right. I'm gonna switch back to the news poem part here. Here you go. I gotta fix this news poem thing. I don't have it. I'm gonna fix that though. I'm gonna fix that right up. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna get that fixed right up. Fix that right up. All right. Let's get ready to record the Talk Brief. In 3, 2, 1. This is the Talk Briefs for Freako Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. I am Frico with Frico.com, and our top brief is the Bay of Pathetic assaults gifts to Americans to Maduro. Man, I can't read that right. I cannot read that right to save my life. Let me do it here, right here, this way. Ready? The Bay of Pathetic's assault gifts two Americans to Maduro. There you go. There you go. There you go. There we get it. There we get it. There we get it. There he is. There he is. He really he just looks like a Walmart floor manager, not even like a district manager, just a floor manager, kind of little. Yeah, the first member of his family to brush his teeth regularly, kind of that guy. Yeah, that's what it kind of strikes me as. But he somehow found himself here. What a guy! What a guy! He is like the left authoritarian version of Donald Trump. Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. There's no good guys in this story, by the way. No good guys. None. Not even the Americans. And I'm on America's side, and I wouldn't be doing this. I don't think it's good for us to be doing these things anymore. We should stop this crap. We should just stop it. Seriously, stop it. But I don't really care what happens to him either. So, excerpt from ABC News. 2 U.S. mercenaries among those nabbed after... Why did they put mercenaries in quotes? They're mercenaries! Oh, that's right, because a mercenary is writing this, most likely. If this is ABC News, yes, they're all mercenaries there, so... Well, maybe some... No, they're pretty much mercenaries. They got to know at this point how stupid they are, and they just commit to the gig. They don't care. They're mercenaries. Whores, mercenaries, interchangeable depending on your perspective. Not that I'm not speaking out against sex workers. I'm not calling sex workers whores. That's a whole... Yeah, never mind. Anyway, not that I'm condoning sex working or condemning neither one or the other. I'm not using whores in the sex worker sense. Oh gosh. Yeah. Anyway, there's no good guys here. It's just a bizarre story. And Americans just handed this guy a gift. Just a boneheaded gift. I'm sorry, even if the United States government wasn't behind it, and I'm sure they were, but if they weren't, that makes it worse. I'd rather believe that they were at least behind it than they were so idiotic they didn't manage to catch some idiots that would do something like this, that would just gift to Maduro. Trust me, Maduro gained 5 or 6 percentage points in support, real support, like that won't be going away anytime soon. So wherever he's at, you just pushed him more towards being more of a representative of the quote unquote people than anything any of you folks got thrown up there. You Americans are being wholly and completely outthought and outdone in Venezuela. The Chinese and the Russians are handing the Americans their proverbial groinage in this whole affair, which is very embarrassing as an American citizen, let me tell you. But also, let's just stop. We don't need it. We don't need an empire. We absolutely can secure our place in our world. We don't have to become isolationists either, but we don't need to be doing this crap. Maduro held up a pair of blue U.S. passports, reading off the names and birth dates on them in a nationwide broadcast on state television. Oh, of course. He showed images of the fishing boats the alleged attackers rode in on, and equipment. It's like... but then again, I would not be surprised if this whole thing was staged, if Maduro staged this whole thing. I wouldn't be surprised by that. I'm more inclined to believe it probably was some boneheaded... It's like... Actually, it was probably some... I think it's more reflection. I'm willing to bet. My bet is... It doesn't make sense to me the United States government would be this stupid to send in this group to actually try to overthrow Maduro with speedboats and a few idiots. Like, seriously, I doubt that that's something even the United States government would be dumb enough to do. But it does speak to me that why would the United States intelligence miss this thing and prevent it from happening ahead of time? So that makes me possibly believe that this is really just, maybe it's something unrelated. It's really just like a drug run. It's not, no one intended on taking over the government. They were just doing stuff that happens in Venezuela. It just happened to happen near the patrol. They found some people with U.S. IDs. I could believe that, or I could not. There's nobody. The Russians aren't good guys. They're more than willing to lie. The Chinese aren't good guys. They're more than willing to lie. Maduro, he's more than willing to lie. The Americans, they're more than willing to lie. Everyone is willing to lie. Everyone lies all the time. But if I were going to put my money on it, this is an ill-advised attempt, possibly by some rogue U.S. intelligence officer that did not go through the chain of command and launched this thing, thinking that they had some, for some reason, maybe they had some intelligence that suggested Maduro was at a certain spot and they had an opportunity to seize him, and if they did that, that'd be all it would take. It could be something like that. That's my bet. That's my bet. I do not believe that at the highest levels that the United States intelligence is so stupid that they would have approved of this. That's my bet, but I have no idea. Either way, this is a wonderful gift for Maduro. Whether it's true, whether it really, maybe it's a drug thing, and he just found U.S. citizens and decided to say it was an attempted coup. Either way, this is a wonderful gift for Maduro. He stumbled upon this. Whether he stumbled upon something that gave him an opportunity to create this lie, or whether this actually happened and people were that dumb enough to do something this dumb. I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. And that's the nature of the reality of power that we live in, such as our real ability, if we all come to understand that nobody is telling you the truth. Even me, I want to tell you the truth, and I can't because I don't know it. I can just show you this, show you what other people are saying, and give you my sense of what sounds credible and what doesn't. That's the best that any of us can do. So if you're listening to anyone out there and they're speaking with certainty, I mean, I may sound certain at times, but I mean, in the main, you get it. If you're listening to anyone that speaks with certainty, and especially if they're using moral constructs to justify the certainty of their statements, especially if their moral constructs lead them to conclude that possibly your friends, possibly your past classmates, possibly your neighbors, possibly the barber down the street, possibly that your favorite waitress will fall under one of their prescription lists and end up dead. Whether they end up physically dead or economically or spiritually or whatever dead you can manage to dead someone in, then you should probably turn them off and stop listening to them because they're psychopaths. Stop listening to psychopaths. There's plenty of progressives out there that aren't psychopaths. There's plenty of conservatives that are not psychopaths. Plenty of them. But those people you hardly ever hear. You don't hear those people. All you hear are the Glenn Becks and the Cenk Youngers. Psychopaths, all of them. Almost all of the mainstream, all of them. Almost all of them. Pretty much psychopaths. Every once in a while you may see a non-psychopath get a big voice, but that's not too often. I know myself, if I suddenly had a massive voice, I would immediately suspect myself. Not me, and that's another, not me, as in, would I suddenly not align myself with the poor? Not likely. But I would figure if a whole bunch of billionaires are interested in funding me, I'm probably, despite my best intentions, creating something that isn't going to deliver the promise that I wanted to deliver. So I would immediately abandon it. I would say no to Action Batsa. I'd say, you know what, if billionaires like Action Batsa, then Action Batsa is evil. Just forget it. I'd walk away. You should too. If a billionaire likes what you do, stop doing it. Fundamentally. A new cure for coronavirus? An excerpt from Text Explorist. This antibody prevents SARS. Well, I'm just going to read that. It's coronavirus. It's an early report from Utrecht University. This research builds on the work our group has done in the past on antibodies targeting coronavirus that emerged in early pre-coronavirus, using this collection of coronavirus antibodies, we identified an antibody, everything is coronavirus now, that neutralized infection of current coronavirus in cultured cells. And then they have to do tests and all that. But here, this is another one of these things. So there's hope out there, folks. There's still hope. There's still hope. Hope floats. Hope floats. If you ever watched Hotel New Hampshire, a great movie. I forget who directed it, but Hotel New Hampshire. Hope floats. You know what I'm talking about. And if you've never seen the movie, hope is, well, never mind. You should watch the movie. Selling Zoom accounts on the dark web. This is from Straits Times. Zoom video app logins were put on sale on the dark web, United States. That's right. Hackers put more than 500,000 login details for the teleconferencing app Zoom on the dark web. So what? Why do you say that? Why are you heartless? What if you were a Zoomian? You know, your daughter uses Zoom. So what? Just create another account. What do you put on Zoom? Just don't put anything private on Zoom. Come on. My daughter uses Zoom for, well, she does her chorus practice. They use Zoom. So, I don't know that. Just don't say anything that you wouldn't want other people to see on Zoom, just because it's insecure. You should know that. Don't do anything on Zoom that you don't. If you can accept that, then don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Bada boom, bada bing, about your uncle. Now, if you build up a huge audience on Zoom, then that would suck. But I don't know. I don't know how you do or what you do on Zoom, so I don't know anything. It's like more of a. Well, if it's like Skype, more like that. I mean, it's massive Skype. It's multiple Skype, but it's not a large scale feed on your system. You're not talking to millions of people through Zoom at one time, are you? Don't they live stream the Zoom onto other platforms, and that's how they do it? So, big deal. If I'm wrong, then I apologize to all of you people, hearts and souls that I've crushed. Pewits goes back to the tubes. I wanted to say more about this, but I don't really want to because we took up so much time earlier. So he's going to live stream on YouTube. So he's done. He's done with DLive. He's abandoned DLive. I've put all in on DLive because of PewDiePie, and now he's like, no, it's not true. I made that up. I have other reasons for choosing DLive, but I'm flexible on where I ultimately choose to highlight my live streaming as I build my massive audience to become the greatest podcaster of all time. So there you go. There you go. I would say that PewDiePie has been sufficiently conditioned and curated and puffed and polished so as to be a eunuch at this point. So the unification of PewDiePie is now complete. If you like PewDiePie, good power to you. I don't dislike him, and I don't blame him. I have no idea if I was in his situation. Again, even I think I said in another segment about China. If I grew up in China, 85% of versions of me would end up loving Chairman Z right now. 85% of versions of, maybe 95% of versions of me as PewDiePie would go and do what Pewdie is doing right now. I would be, yes, I would easily see myself choosing what he's chosen. So I'm not judging you, Mr. Pewds, but it does make you less interesting to me personally. Maybe you guys still like him, but I check on you every once in a while. But there for a while I was watching him on the regs. I'd say from about 2017-ish to mid-2019. Really about mid-2019 I started watching less and less anyway. But now I'm even less inclined to watch because, okay, there you go. The thing about YouTube is, and why I'll never make it on YouTube, I put stuff up on YouTube, but I won't show up in YouTube algorithms until YouTube changes. You can't create, and I won't say that what I'm doing is quality content, but for me it's my effort at creating. I can't create what I assume or want to be as far as quality content is concerned and be safe on YouTube. And so I'm not even trying. I don't give a fuck. And no, that doesn't count as a freak out. I can at times use, that's an appropriate use of that word. I'm going to apologize for that one. That was calculated and well placed and deserved. So that's why I do what I do, the way that I do it, because I'm going to create the content not that I want to create, but mostly that I want to create. I consider what you guys want, and I definitely consider what folks that are watching the show and give me feedback want, and have made adjustments, and I'll continue to. But I fundamentally just am not interested in creating the type of weird, constrained conversations that YouTube wants to create. Not doing it. And PewDiePie has decided that he's signed up for that. He's balls deep in it now. So there you go. R.I.P. Pewds. Long live PewDiePie. R.I.P. Pewds. Well, that's the end of this segment. This is the 8 p.m. segment. It is the penultimate segment of the Frico Talks News Show. Coming up next is the Dialectical. The Dialectical is the 9 p.m. show. And if you're watching live on the Action Bots YouTube channel, then you have to wait till 9 p.m. But if you're watching live on dlive.tv/Frico, where we air our show every Monday through Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you don't have to wait. Well, I didn't switch it at all, did I? I let the whole thing in Beef's intro the whole time. I did that. I never switched it to Briefs. Never. Oh my gosh, I totally zoned out on that one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh well. Look at that, though. Look at that where it says 0. It's 0 shows, ladies and gentlemen. 0. We're at 0. Billy, don't be a hero. Don't be a fool with your life. Billy, don't do shows that make you lose your streaks. I gotta try. It's gonna be a long time now before I reach 21. Will 21 be the record for a long time to come? Is there hope? Is there hope that I beat 21? That is the question. All right, let's get ready to do the last segment of the show. So we're going to be recording in. Yep, let's get this lined up better. I really like this particular visual myself. I really like this one. All right, in 3, 2, 1. This is the Dialectical for Frico Talks the News on Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. I am Frico, and this is Frico.com. Our Dialectical today is, can I read your mind and make it to sell toasters to you or authority? Oh, yeah. I think that I will make it through the rest of the show without another freak out. I think. What marketers want is to be able to do two things, first and foremost. Find your core, where you are at, and change that core to be what the client wants it to be. And that's key. Change that core to what the client wants it to be. Like how you train a whole society, a whole civilization to identify bacon and eggs and milk and orange juice with breakfast. You actually created that. You weren't meeting the needs of the market. You literally created that need in the minds of human beings, fundamentally changing their diets for good or for ill. You weren't doing it for either. You were doing it because you had cheap eggs and milk and bacon. And you could sell it for a high profit. Marketing is creating perception, not presenting options. It's about driving people to want to buy the cheapest things for the highest price with the least bit of accountability possible. These are the folks that wish to take artificial intelligence tools and convert them into converters of cores, to turn the casual into the obsessive, to manipulate consumptions with little to no regard for the consequences of creating such dependencies on whatever it is your client is selling. And I want to set this context before we get to today's dialectical starting point. And this is an excerpt from VentureBeat. Emotion detection is a hot ask in marketing, but the tech just isn't ready yet. The problem is that technology just isn't accurate enough, and the potential pitfalls outweigh the benefits. In the case of text data and written communications, we've all experienced on a personal level what this looks like. Sometimes we message a loved one with a sarcastic note or joke that we thought was funny, but that ends up being misunderstood and hurts the recipient's feelings. Now imagine the complexities of having a machine interpret the writer's intent. Humans are better, although still far from perfect, at detecting emotion in a person when they can take in facial and vocal cues as well as the meaning of the spoken words and the context they are expressed in. And with recent advances in deep learning, these modalities have become more amenable to machine learning. Still, one only needs to look at real life to understand why it might be difficult to determine emotions, even with these clues. There may be ethnic or cultural differences around how emotions are expressed, for example. Some research has found humans capable of making accurate judgments of emotion across cultures. However, they frequently involve actors or participants making a specific face on cue. These stereotyped facial expressions, like the lips curved down in a sad pout, are broadly understood. However, the evidence based on faces we make in practice is far less clear because most of the time we're not presenting ourselves as cartoon characters to one another, although now we are because we live in a cartoon character universe. A cartoon character universe of the age of crayon, the crayon age. In the crayon age, all of your figures look like cartoon characters. So it's a cartoon character universe in the crayon age. But ultimately, crayon age is what we're dealing with. And in large part, we're in the crayon age because of marketers. Marketers did this to us. They infantilized us. They kept us coming. They kept us needing more and more the basest, most elemental, most powerful, in-depth core biochemical pings that they could possibly trigger in us. And they have to keep getting more and more intense because the generations keep getting inured to the last marketing generation's efforts to trigger these subliminal, hardcore biochemical rewards and penalties within us that mold us and that put into us that which we did not consent to having put into us. So now I'm going to get to what I have to say, because that's the end of the excerpt. Although I guess I've already been starting that without reading what I wrote, because that's the way it rolls here on Freako Talks the News. That's how it's done, kids. That's how it's done. The marketers at present are only limited by the limits of the technology that I would wager might soon offer solutions they do not presently have, to equip themselves with your core, and soon the path to readjust your core, to make of you a part of their preferences, not yours, to build in you specifically, especially, heuristically, the person they need you to be. Addicted to whatever they need you to be addicted to, be it a hot emoticon from the right crowd or a new soda made with half the sugar to increase the bottom line. But it's marketed as nature enhanced because now more water was added to the mix, and you'll buy it. I mean, they won't say it like this. They'll say it. You'll buy it. You'll buy it. You'll appreciate the more subtle, the nuanced taste of the new and improved sodas, the more socially responsible sodas. You'll drink it and you'll love it, and you'll vilify anyone who dares to drink the soda that has the full sugars in it still. Oh, look at that! I'm gonna let everybody know. I'm gonna let everybody know. And take your picture, I'm sending it out. This is his Twitter handle. This is him drinking the soda. Get him, guys. This story for me is just another of the many stories that highlight again and again that humans without their personal AIs are virtually defenseless against all manner of large-scale enterprises that hold on to the exclusive rights to use the best of the best minds that money can buy, with a major emphasis on the money part. Money that is gotten through in large part a concentration of these IPs that keep harvesting off, keep skimming off from the top of their little cut of flesh from the labor and ingenuity and creativity and really stewardship of others. They do very little stewarding in the exchange that gets them the net bulk of the resources that they then choose to use to reward coercive systems that are now being utilized to engineer us. So it's beyond the marketing. It's now spilling over into our laws and our regulations that these folks are also using their money to influence. Disproportional to their numbers. The proportional representation of billionaires and millionaires in Congress, it's overwhelmingly out of proportion to the reality. There should no, as a matter of fact, statistically speaking, if you only have 400 and some odd people governing, you should literally have no millionaires and billionaires, because it's just improbable that you'll have, I don't know what the numbers are, but whatever it is, maybe 1 or 2 millionaires at most. But instead, most of them are millionaires, and a few of them are billionaires. And even the ones that are the millionaires that aren't billionaires, their lifeline is connected. They all have a certain group of billionaires. The billionaires have their little stable of senators and Congress members as well. That's our reality of power. That's the world that we live in. So what if consumers had at their disposal these AI screeners that identify the hidden message, the subliminals? This is the possibility that lies before us, one in which we are all out-marketed by clever machines that only the biggest and bestest have access to. Not because the resource is scarce, but because patents, IPs, keep the resources artificially bloated in prices and licensing. This is where marketing is headed increasingly, for a smaller range of clientele, as everything Corp A consumes everything Corp G, etc., and on a smaller range of platforms such as YouTube, Google, Facebook, and Twitter, which gobble up 60+% of the ad space on their own, all with strict, highly factional moral guidelines that continue to benefit an increasingly small extreme segment of the general public these massive leviathans serve. And yes, if you are progressive, if you are left-wing, you are being targeted. If you are not within the increasingly shrinking definition of their rigid orthodoxies, there's a very small percentage of quote-unquote leftists now that actually fit into their very narrow, twisted, authoritarian ideology at this point. And it's not really an ideology. That's a terrible word. It gives it credit it doesn't deserve. It's just a vehicle of power. There aren't so any. Actually, in general, ideology is a myth. Ideology is it's a vehicle of power. A vehicle of power. If you think of them as vehicles of power, you can stop trying to understand the parts that are irrelevant. What do they mean? What does it say about human nature? What does it say about our evolution and the understanding of how humans can more effectively and justly or whatever? No, none of that crap matters. All you gotta understand is what particular advantages does a world which reflect that particular quote-unquote ideology serve for the individual that you're talking to. Then you'll understand that individual. You won't understand him through the ideology. You'll understand, well, in part you will, but not by understanding the ideology, understanding how the ideology serves their specific wants, needs, and desires. These mega platforms will have the bestest and brightest and the most advanced ever stuff to crush your minds and your wills and condition you to continue to accept the decreasing quality of service. Sodas with less sugar, and less sugar is just more socially responsible sodas, but with bigger buttons and flashes for increasing expense and diminishing, if any, customer service. So you get bigger and bigger headlines shouting more and more dramatic end of the world kind of stuff, and you're the angels and they're the demons, and you're the angels and they're the demons, angels, demons, angels, demons, angels, demons. You get the narratives, right? Do you get it yet? Do you get the freaking narratives that are controlling your minds? But if you have your own AI buddies by your side, they'll suss these mighty machines out, no problem, and you'll learn which companies are willing to mangle cores to make that bank. come what may, and make decisions accordingly. You don't have to have laws that protect humans from bad marketers. Just equip humans to have the AIs as the tools that they need. If they have an IQ of 98, they're toast. But if they have AI buddies, the AI buddies will set them right. Like, yo, man, don't listen. Nope. That is some BS-eroni. Let me tell you what they're doing here. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah. Put that power in our hands. Democratize intelligence. Seriously. This is where I hope to see the entire world go, to ungrid the tech, to place the same tools in the hands of all. The 3D printers, the mesh networks, the AI buddies, all the stuff that can be tools of empowerment for consensual exchange are tools of death for the continuation of what we have been walking in these past millennia. The coercive enterprise model of governance, the psychopath competition. It's time to end the psychopath competition. It's time for something new. Ungrid the tech. And that's my final conclusion there. Don't forget to tip your Freako at freako.com/tips. Or you go to freako.com, you find these big fat buttons. You click on that button, you go to the PayPals, and you give me some fat monies. You say, yo, man, here's some monies because you're pretty all right. I like your song. I like your new song today. It's all right. Or you feel like, you know what, that guy, just give him some money just because, I like his hat. He's not wearing a hat. He's not? Oh, somehow I feel like he was. So whatever, I still like his hat. Whatever your reason. If you're a gazillionaire, you choose the other one and you put in $1 gazillion, and then you get to feel good about yourself for the rest of the day, but no more. Then go back to feeling like the piece of crap that you are. And you get nothing in return for giving me your money, by the way. None of you get anything in return other than a smile. Yeah, I don't know if that was worth it. All right. So it's been 0 shows since I last freaked out, and that is what it is. I'm going to end this for the YouTube Akshobata channel. Thank you for joining us here on the Freako.com or the Freako Talks the News show. This is the last segment that you got to see at the 9 o'clock show. I'll return tomorrow, 4 p.m. with the 4 p.m. show, which is the headline show. Until then, I'll see you then, unless you're watching live. If you're watching live on DLive.tv, I've got some other stuff to talk about. Actually, not really a lot, but more than you get on the Akshobata YouTube channel. I think that sometimes I'm a little bit mean. I think I'm a little bit mean to the YouTube crowd, and I apologize. I am live streaming on YouTube, but nobody ever sees this on YouTube. I don't expect YouTube ever lets any of these live streams out of its tight little box because of the things that I talk about and the words that I say. So I don't ever expect to see anybody see anything on my YouTube channel, especially because I only have, I have 104, I think, 104 subs. I think that's how many I have. I got a couple subs recently, so that's good. So anyway, that's the end of the show. We will be back tomorrow, and hopefully by the end of the show, I will be able to change the 0 in the shows since last Freakout to 1. And I'll start a new trend, and we'll see how we do. And I apologize for freaking out. It's bound to happen, and I do my best not to freak out, but I know doing what I do, it's bound to happen. But I'm very, very proud of myself because I went 21 shows. And you know what? I think I can break the record. I'm going to break the record. I'm going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. With your help, I will break the record. So we'll see you tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the DLive.tv/Freako channel. Till then, later.
Thank you for engaging with this material presented. As usual, remember your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm on anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Freako Talks, where Freako attempts to talk about news without freaking out.
love.